It aired once and then seemingly disappeared forever. No reruns. No listings. No public explanation. Among the many stories surrounding late-night television, one of the strangest and most persistent legends involves a mysterious episode of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, an episode that allegedly aired in limited regions and then vanished without a trace. Over the years, whispers of a disastrous guest appearance, backstage chaos, network panic, and a coordinated effort to erase the event have transformed the story into one of television's most fascinating mysteries. What happened that night? Why does the story continue to survive decades later? And why do rumors persist that the truth was deliberately hidden? Whether fact, exaggeration, or myth, the mystery of the lost Carson episode continues to captivate people. The evening reportedly started like any normal episode of The Tonight Show. The familiar curtain moved gently as the studio audience applauded. The band played its recognizable opening tune, and Johnny Carson walked onto the stage with the effortless confidence that had made him a television icon. Millions had grown accustomed to seeing him in that exact setting, calm, composed, funny, and in complete control. But according to stories later shared by people who claimed they were watching that night, something immediately felt unusual. Carson's energy seemed different. His smile looked slightly forced. The atmosphere in the studio felt tense. For viewers casually watching at home, these details may have seemed insignificant. But for a handful of people who later discussed the broadcast, those early moments stood out. According to the legend, the episode aired only in selected regions before abruptly disappearing. It was never rebroadcast and never included in official archives. NBC never publicly discussed it, and over time the mystery only grew. At first, many dismissed the situation. Some assumed it had simply been a technical problem. Others believed local affiliates had made scheduling mistakes. Yet those who claimed they watched the broadcast insisted something much stranger had happened. They described an evening that quickly turned from a routine television appearance into something completely unexpected. The guest lineup reportedly seemed ordinary enough. A television actor. A musician. A recurring comedian. Nothing looked unusual on paper. But according to countless retellings of the story, the first guest changed everything. Anonymous witnesses and later internet discussions suggested that the actor arrived in a visibly unstable state. One person who claimed to have been present in the audience years later described the guest as walking onto the stage as though he owned the room. At first, audience members reportedly laughed. He appeared confident. Maybe overly relaxed. Maybe eccentric. But then things supposedly began to unravel. The guest interrupted Carson repeatedly. His speech became increasingly difficult to follow. He jumped from topic to topic without direction. Instead of responding naturally to questions, he allegedly began speaking about Hollywood gossip, industry personalities, and private stories involving major figures in entertainment. At first, Carson attempted to guide the conversation back to safer territory. That was what he always did. He had built a career around handling unpredictable personalities. He could rescue awkward interviews better than almost anyone. But according to the legend, this situation was different. The guest continued speaking. He ignored attempts to redirect him. He allegedly began discussing stories that were never meant for public television. Audience laughter gradually faded. Silence reportedly replaced it. And then things supposedly became even worse. Long before viewers noticed anything strange, rumors suggest problems had already started backstage. The taping reportedly took place at NBC's Burbank studio, where staff members expected another routine production day. Instead, according to later accounts from unnamed sources, confusion began almost immediately. The first guest allegedly arrived more than an hour late. Crew members reportedly noticed signs that something was wrong. His behavior was erratic. His speech was unusual. Several stories claim he smelled strongly of alcohol and joked loudly with anyone who walked past him. Johnny Carson, according to people who worked around him, valued professionalism above almost everything else. He had dealt with difficult guests before. He had seen uncomfortable moments unfold on live television. But he reportedly disliked situations involving guests who appeared impaired. Rumors suggest that Carson had previous concerns about this actor and had already experienced one uncomfortable interview with him in the past. Some versions of the story claim NBC executives wanted the actor booked despite Carson's hesitation. Others suggest the appearance was intended to repair the actor's image. Whatever the truth may have been, the result allegedly became disastrous. Shortly before filming began, stories claim Carson and the guest argued privately. Several anonymous accounts describe raised voices coming from Carson's dressing room. According to these rumors, Carson threatened to cancel the segment entirely. The guest reportedly insisted he was fine. Crew members supposedly heard shouting. Eventually Carson allegedly left the room frustrated. He reportedly warned producers that any problems on stage would be their responsibility. Yet by then, there was little time left. The audience had arrived. The band was prepared. The show was ready. There was no replacement guest. So production moved forward. When Carson entered the stage, applause filled the studio as usual. But people later claimed something felt different. His opening monologue seemed shorter. His usual exchanges with the band felt limited. Instead of settling into his normal rhythm, he quickly introduced the first guest. That was when the evening allegedly began collapsing in real time. The guest walked out smiling. To viewers at home, he may have appeared only slightly unusual. But according to those who later discussed the event, his behavior quickly became concerning. He began speaking almost immediately. Even before Carson fully asked his first question, the guest reportedly launched into stories about Hollywood pressure, fame, and personal experiences. At first, people laughed. The comments sounded random but entertaining. But gradually the humor disappeared. Without warning, the guest allegedly made an inappropriate joke involving a powerful industry figure. Then came another strange story involving a well-known actress. Carson supposedly attempted to interrupt him. The guest continued speaking. Carson reportedly asked whether they should move on to something lighter. The guest allegedly responded, "No, let's tell them how it really is." According to later retellings, the audience became quiet. People were no longer sure whether they were watching comedy or witnessing something deeply uncomfortable. Then came the moment many claim changed everything. The guest reportedly leaned toward Carson and said something partly off microphone. No one agrees on what was said. No recording has ever confirmed it. But according to viewers, Carson's expression changed immediately. He shifted in his chair. He looked toward the side of the stage. He pressed his lips together. And for perhaps the first time in years, Johnny Carson appeared genuinely unsettled. Shortly afterward, viewers claimed the broadcast suddenly changed. In some areas, the program cut directly to commercials. In others, the show returned with a different guest already seated. Some audiences reportedly saw the episode end early. Others described strange jumps and missing portions in recordings. People who had taped the episode on home VHS systems allegedly discovered odd interruptions and missing sections. Confusion spread quickly. Viewers called television stations asking what had happened. Then silence followed. No explanation appeared. No clarification was given. And over time the missing episode slowly transformed into legend. According to stories shared years later by former staff members, the network reacted immediately. Anonymous sources claimed employees received instructions not to discuss the previous night's events. If people asked questions, they were allegedly told to describe the situation as a scheduling issue. Rumors also describe internal memos circulating among departments. One alleged document reportedly included a simple instruction: no duplicate, no rerun, no archive. If true, that would have been extremely unusual. The Tonight Show was one of television's most carefully catalogued productions. Thousands of episodes were preserved. Yet according to the legend, this one was treated differently. Some stories even claim technicians were ordered to destroy master recordings. Whether such instructions ever existed remains impossible to verify. But the rumors never disappeared. Instead they multiplied. Perhaps one of the most fascinating parts of the story involves the show's archives. People who researched Carson's broadcasts reportedly noticed something unusual. Accounts suggest there may have been a missing episode number during that period. A blank space where a completed show should have appeared. Supporters of the mystery point to this as evidence. Skeptics argue television records were imperfect and occasional inconsistencies happened naturally. Still, the absence only added fuel to speculation. Over time, staff members who allegedly attempted to preserve information about the episode became subjects of rumors themselves. Stories surfaced about archivists being reassigned. Employees reportedly became reluctant to discuss the topic. Some even referred privately to a so-called Carson blackout. Whether real or imagined, the phrase became part of the growing mythology. Weeks later, according to the story, Carson briefly addressed something during a monologue. He reportedly joked about television standards and changing times. Then he paused and said, "Some things are better left forgotten." He smiled. Ed McMahon laughed. The audience moved on. But for viewers who remembered the mysterious episode, the comment felt unusual. Was Carson referencing that night? Or was it simply another joke? No one knows. Yet the moment became another piece of evidence for believers. As attention slowly faded, rumors shifted toward the actor at the center of the incident. Though no official identity was ever confirmed, many amateur investigators attempted to narrow the possibilities. Some claimed his career suddenly declined afterward. Projects allegedly disappeared. Television opportunities reportedly dried up. Public appearances became less frequent. A few entertainment publications at the time reportedly hinted at an unnamed television controversy involving a late-night disaster. No names were provided. But speculation filled the gaps. Even stranger were claims that earlier Carson appearances involving the actor gradually disappeared from circulation. Supporters of the mystery believed someone was attempting to erase his connection to the show entirely. The actor himself never publicly addressed such claims. But years later, according to some accounts, he allegedly reacted strongly when asked about Carson. He reportedly called it a mistake and suggested people had made sure he paid for it.